98% of dieters gain back all the weight they lost within a year, and often more. And there's lots of studies to even show that it's damaging to your health. Not only is it not effective, but it's actually damaging your health. Higher incidence of things like diabetes, because you're just being so hard on your body, going down and going up and going down. Your weight is not supposed to fluctuate that much. Your body just loves to stay at a similar weight. And of course, any of us that want to shed weight, it does take more work to stay at that lower weight. But that's why I believe the journey to your goal has to match the destination. I've talked to Rhonda about this. But if you scratch and claw and deprive yourself to get to your dream body, you're going to get there, and it's going to be impossible to stay there. And I deluded myself in that way many times. I did fitness competitions, and I would eat 1,000 calories a day. I would work out twice a day, and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is like the new me, like 30 pounds lighter than I am right now. And I'm like, I can maintain this, maybe give or take 5 pounds. And then the second I went back to eating somewhat normally, I would just blow back up, because that's just how it works. Anyone ever felt like that? It's like you get to this amazing goal weight, and then it's like, F this, how am I going to keep this, right? It's almost like, for me, it was a really frightening feeling, because I didn't feel like I had control. So one reason that diets really don't work is that they're fake. They're kind of a fake way of eating. So I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to wait till after Christmas, and then I'll really get serious about my diet. But then it's like, okay, but then it's like Easter. And then summer rolls around, and it's barbecue season. And then it's like Thanksgiving, and then it's Halloween. And then, you know, it's Thanksgiving, I said that, right? But I just really believe you deserve to be able to go to a birthday party and have a piece of cake and not feel like you're going to totally trash your diet because of it. You deserve to be able to go out for dinner with friends and order whatever the flip you want from the menu and not overthink it. And it is possible to be at a healthy weight and do that. So the next one is it can really damage our fat-burning abilities. So I've experienced that firsthand, going to 1,000 calories a day when my resting metabolic rate is probably around 1,500. So if you go below your resting metabolic rate, your body just goes into fight mode, and it's like, I'm keeping everything. But if you're starving yourself, you will lose weight. And then the second you go back to eating bread and normal things, you just blow back up, and your metabolism, your actual natural innate fat-burning ability is just slower because your body's in like preservation mode. Does that make sense? So that's the second reason. The third reason, the human spirit is not wired for deprivation, and eventually you'll always revolt. You'll have something shift in you, and you'll be like, F this, I'm going to eat the chocolate. And then it's not just a little bit of chocolate, it's like an entire box of chocolates. Has anyone ever had that kind of Yeah. So one of my gurus and my mentors in this space, the emotional eating space, says, Janine Roth, she says, for every diet, there's an equal and opposite binge. And that's pretty much everything in life. If you swing too far, if you go work out 7 days a week, and then, you know, you've never worked out, you know, in 3 years, and you do that, you're probably going to swing the other way and just say, this is too hard, I'm too sore, I hate this, and quit. That's why when people join here, I'm like, let's start with 2 or 3 times a week, like, work out from there. Make sense? So the next reason, we're really all different. We're all wired differently. We're all genetically different. So the food that I eat is probably different than the food that you eat. You know, like my husband thrives on, he does intermittent fasting. He only eats in an 8-hour window. That really works for him. That sounds like a nightmare to me. I want to eat when I wake up in the morning, you know. But also just like some cultures eat a whole ton of like fat. Some cultures eat no meat. And they all have their own way of thriving. So I just encourage you to use your own wisdom. And that's something I really work with my clients on. But it's like your body knows what it wants. And maybe Drinda's body needs less protein than my body, for example. Or, you know, maybe red meat. I don't know how you do with red meat. Pork makes me feel quite bad. Things like that. So don't think, I know like some of our meal plans have like cottage cheese. And I remember eating just so much cottage cheese that I was just farting all the time, and my body was so angry, and I was like, okay, this is not serving me in any way. So just keep in mind that that's why diets aren't really the best, because they don't take into account your genetics, what your body needs, and what you like. Because does anyone agree that life should be fun and pleasurable? Maybe a couple head nods, yeah? Awesome. Also, with dieting, a lot of times there's like the no-go list. And when we label something as bad, we end up thinking about it more. This is actually proven. So it's like, oh, I can't have wine or chocolate or bread for the next 4 weeks, but then you're always thinking about it. And the second the diet ends, you're like, give it all to me, right? So I'll explain this a bit more, but I really believe it's more powerful long-term to just say, this food makes me thrive and feel awesome, and it helps me get to my goals for my body, or this food obviously makes me feel bloated out to here, lethargic, I feel like I need a nap after it. And if you don't know that, does anyone feel like, I don't know, I feel fine after everything-ish? Yeah. So, I mean, that's harder. My body's really sensitive, so it's like I eat a donut and I'm like, ugh. But it's not impossible to get better at kind of noticing. Maybe, like, my husband has, like, a gut of steel. He can eat anything. And so he's like, I don't get that guideline. But for me, it's like, in an hour after I eat, if I'm farting and bloated and just feel like I need a nap, then I probably ate something that was really hard on my body to digest. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then lastly, I personally believe that diets are kind of like a Band-Aid on like a gaping wound. Now, for me, it was a gaping wound. It might not be for you. But if you use food for anything other than physical nourishment, a lot of people use food as an escape, as a way to numb out, as a way to avoid their emotions, then no diet will ever address that. Yeah? Getting some head nods? So I humbly stand here before you, and I want to just share something, and it's personal, and I'm not sharing this for pity or for any other reason, but to show you how much I've changed in the last 3 years. So I mentioned I have a 2.5-year-old, and Patrick and I have been trying for our second, and on Thursday we went in for an ultrasound, and a 10-week ultrasound, and the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And the old me, which I've had 3 miscarriages now, but the old me would have, well, this is literally what I did last time. I said, Pat, I'm going to the bakery, can you stop with some wine? Let's order Indian. And I would just like numb out. Like I would eat enough food for 4 people, and I would just like totally like pass out on the couch, and time something emotional happened, that's what I would do. And I would say, yeah. And so on Thursday when this happened, we hadn't really told many people, and I'm not sharing it for pity, like I said. I think miscarriages should be talked about more, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. But I cried in the ultrasound room with the sonographer and the doctor, and they looked completely horrified. But like they were just like, ooh, like we want to get out of here. But the old me would have kept it all in, like strong Charmaine, don't show your weakness. I was crying. I got home and we had separate cars, and Pat's like, like you've been crying in the car, and I'm like, no. And then I went upstairs and I blocked mascara all over my face. And then I called my friend, it was her birthday that night, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to come tonight. The old me would have never told her, would have just like gone to the party and just put on that strong face. So I'm just trying to encourage you that if food has ever been your coping mechanism, you can change it. And for me, it was just letting myself cry and letting myself feel my feelings and not stuffing them with food all the time. So that's a little bit, that's my passion, is talking about emotional eating, but I won't talk too much about it today. But I thank you for witnessing that, and I haven't really told anybody, so I don't feel like it needs to be a secret, but I didn't really want to tell my friends and family, because when I first found out I was pregnant, because I've had so many miscarriages, I was like, let's just wait till 12 weeks. Anyways, so feel your feelings if you don't want to eat them. You gotta feel to heal, I say. So the next thing is just talking a little bit about what's stopping us from taking action. So some of you put your hands up, who's like, yeah, I kind of know what to do, but I make other choices. And I was like the poster child for this. I was an elite athlete on the Canadian national team for snowboarding. I had access to all the dietitians, all the resources in the world, still overweight. I became a kinesiologist. I took kinesiology at university, took nutrition courses, still overweight. Became a personal trainer almost 8 years ago, overweight for the early part of my career. And so it was never like I didn't have enough information. It was just that I just couldn't do it. And so I wanted to share, if you kind of resonate with that, there's a few reasons why you might not be taking action, or that your body is actually, it's not actually anything that you're doing wrong with nutrition. It's just some other lifestyle factors. And I really believe that the weight loss picture needs to be more holistic. It can't just be fitness and nutrition. We need to look at stress, we need to look at sleep, we need to look at emotions, we need to look at self-care, all that kind of stuff. So I'll quickly go through this, but stress. So stress is one of the #1 reasons why people are overweight. And so when you're stressed, your body is in fight mode, and it wants to hold on to all the calories that it can. The other thing that happens when you're stressed is that your body craves carbs, because it's like, I'm scared, I don't know when this danger is going to end, and I'm going to need lots of energy to fight off the predator, which the predator never comes, but lots of us just live in that stress mode. Anybody kind of feel like I'm living there? Not too bad. So I actually did some testing. If anyone's interested, you could email me, but she said that I had like almost no capacity to relax. Even when I was laying down, I was in fight mode. And so I was like, and she said that was probably part of the issue of my fertility problems. I went to a functional medicine doctor. So the solution to stress, this could be a whole talk in itself. But first of all, I think it's prioritizing your life and saying no more and doing less. Less is often more. I know that's been a big journey for me. And then just breathing. And does anyone do any meditation or breath work? Couple people? So just because I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute and I'm stressed, I just want to breathe with you guys for a couple seconds, okay? So just put your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly. Maybe I'll be able to slow down a little. You guys are all like, oh my God. So hand on your chest, hand on your belly. Breathing in, filling the belly and the chest. And then a full exhale. Taking that nice deep breath in. For the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Just hold it for a moment. And then exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do 2 more. In and out. And breathing in. Feeling that whole belly, chest. So breathing is not like a woo-woo thing. It's like researched and proven to really take your stress levels down. So it's like one of those things, anytime when you're feeling like your shoulders are at your ears and nothing's going right and it's all stressful, just do that. Take 5 deep breaths like that, and it can just really change your state right away. Next one is sleep deprivation, which kind of mimics stress. So when you don't have enough sleep, your body says, I don't have enough energy, so I need to eat more. And it's not like I need to eat more broccoli. It's like I need to eat more crackers, cereal, carbs. Quick, easy to digest carbs. So, I mean, everyone's like, that sucks, Charmaine. Stress and sleep? Like, I'm maxed out. How am I supposed to get more? Does anyone kind of feel like that? It's like, yeah. So, I mean, it all comes down to what you value. They always say, you know, Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day as us. So I just find, for me, Netflix was a big thing. I used to like binge watch Netflix at night, and now I kind of have a guideline. I don't like to say a rule, but a guideline that I watch one show, because otherwise it just goes so late, and then I'm like dead in the morning. And so, yeah, I could talk more about sleep, but you just have to kind of decide what you value. And I actually set like a reverse alarm. So if I have to be here at 5, I have to get up at 4. That means I have to go to bed by 8 if I want 8 hours of sleep. And I do, because I know for myself, less than 8 hours, I don't function optimally. I crave more carbs. I notice that immediately. And that's something you might want to keep track of, is just like, what's the correlation for you? So reverse alarms work pretty well. It's kind of like the alarm goes off, maybe it says like start winding down. Because does anyone try to get a million things done at night? Yeah, a few people. So I don't know. That was me before, and I could totally resonate with that. But now I value living in a healthy body, having some downtime. Right, Andrea? Awesome. So self-sabotage is the next thing that I think stops a lot of us from taking action. Has anyone ever kind of heard about this idea of self-sabotage? So it's like we say we want something, but we quite literally do the opposite of what it would take to get that thing. Yeah? And so the #1 reason why we do it is something in our subconscious doesn't believe that it's possible for us to really be successful. And this is a big can of worms I'm opening, but what the number one thing that you could do right away to kind of combat it is start working on your self-talk. Because if you're telling yourself, it's not going to work, it's never worked before, you know, I'm too lazy, you know, I'm not smart enough, I'm not worthy enough, or anything in between, it's going to be almost impossible to consistently make healthy choices. But if you start talking to yourself like someone who deserves to feel good and somebody who is successful, it just makes a world of difference. So one little technique I like to use is if I have a really nasty thought about myself, like you're going to bomb this talk today, it's like cancel, 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 do your best. People that are going to hear you, they're going to hear what they need to hear, whatever. But it's like, I used to be so hard on myself about everything, and now it's like, that's not productive, it's not serving me, and so it's just like cancel, 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 reframe, reframe, and sometimes it's like 10,000 times a day I have to do that, but it really, really works. Perfectionism. Any people that really like things to go just so, and if they don't, you kind of go F it? Yeah, ish. So perfectionism's a big one. And my big slogan for a lot of my clients is progress over perfection. And I just keep reminding them, like those, at every Friday they have to send me their wins. Like, what was the win from the week? Like 3 wins and then 1 challenge, because so many of us focus on what's not going right. But there's always something that went right, even the most chaotic day. And the more we focus on what went right, the more we'll start to attract that stuff. But yeah, perfectionism, you know, I could talk about that a lot too, but one thing, there's a really neat study done on dieters that when they kind of messed up on their eating, they were like shaming themselves, guilting themselves, like beating themselves up, versus another group of dieters who gave themselves forgiveness, compassion, a little pep talk, like tomorrow, next opportunity is going to be better. Guess who's more successful? Do you think like that criticism and blame and shame works? Because a lot of us think it works. We think if we beat ourselves up enough, then maybe we'll change. But it doesn't work. 80% more successful if you're kind to yourself. And when you're just too tired to come, you don't tell yourself you're lazy. You just say, I need a break, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. If you eat a donut and you feel yucky after, you don't beat yourself up. You just say, oh, that kind of made me feel yucky. Maybe I'll make a better choice next time. But you don't beat yourself up. Does that make sense? So the next thing is time. I guess I kind of talked about time with sleep, but we all make time for what we value, and I think that ties into perfectionism. Just start small. It doesn't have to be this massive thing, meal prepping for 8 hours on a Sunday. Like, it doesn't have to be so extreme. It can just be small little changes, which I'm going to share some really impactful, but I don't want to say easy, but simple tips with you. And the last thing is those emotional reasons. You know, anger, sadness, frustration, boredom, anxiety. Anytime you feel uncomfortable and you don't express it, you'll do something else. You'll eat, you'll drink, you'll shop, you'll go on social media, you'll work more to avoid your feelings. Does anyone resonate with that? Maybe it's not food, but maybe it's something else. Yeah, for me it was always food. Rum Slurpees, wine. So one quick tip for that, when you're eating, when you're deciding what you're going to eat, is just ask yourself. This is an awareness tool. Sometimes it won't work because you won't care. But it's like, am I hungry enough to eat broccoli? And usually, if you're like, hell no, I want the cheesecake or I want the carrot cake or whatever, then it's often more of an emotional hunger, or you know, maybe you lacked self-care for that week, or you didn't get enough sleep. It's often, if your body's really genuinely hungry, it could eat broccoli or chicken, or, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's just like a little test you can try. So we're going to shift focus now to making nutritional choices that you can joyfully maintain. And so the first one there is eat healthy because you love yourself. Now, I love that idea. But I know that's not always as easy said than done. I know for me, I didn't used to really care how I felt. If I was bloated and farty and exhausted, whatever, I was like, well, that's kind of just my normal. And I remember I used to drive past Tim Hortons, and I'd be like, oh, I want that sour cream glazed donut and that large hot chocolate. That was like my thing. and I would buy it and I would stuff it back in the car, but I'd never eat it, savor it anyways. But now I drive past Tim Hortons and I'm like, you probably have to pay me to eat a Tim Hortons donut now. And I'm not saying that to boast or anything, but I just care about my body now. It's not that I care about my weight. I'm happy to carry some extra weight, and I do carry some extra weight, but it's just like, I want to thrive. I want to feel good, and you deserve to feel good, and your body deserves to thrive. One of the women in, Evelyn was there, I think, but she said, you can treat your body like a frat house or like a temple. And I just liked that idea, because it's not only about weight loss and weight maintenance. It's about your body. The things you eat today are recreating your cells tomorrow. If you want a Big Mac recreating your retina tomorrow, or do you want like a organic carrot, you know? And I don't mean to say that to guilt you or shame you. It's just like, that's just kind of how I think now. It's taken me a while to get there, but it's not like, oh, I'm not allowed the donut. It's like, I don't want to feel like that. And so that's a really empowering way, I believe, because it takes the willpower out. It used to be such a willpower battle. And willpower, believe it or not, is a finite resource. You start your day high, and every decision you have to make throughout the day takes it away. Has anyone ever gone to the end of the day and it's like, I did so good this morning, but now I'm like, F it, I don't really care. Yeah? And that's because willpower just runs out. It does. So save your willpower for really important things and have guidelines for yourself. It's like, I don't eat things that make me feel disgusting. That's a good guideline. Does that one resonate for people? Especially as we go into that Christmas season. It's like, yeah, I'll have a shortbread cookie, but I won't have 5 anymore, because when I have 5, I have insulin shock and I need a nap, and it's not pretty. But I can savor one guilt-free, and that's enough. So we'll talk about the mindful part, which is really fun too. So when you love something, you take care of it. I just want to kind of encourage you with that. So the next thing is avoid labeling foods as good or bad, and I mentioned that at the start. So I encourage you to take away the word bad and just say, this makes me feel awesome, this makes me feel yucky. The next thing is to stop shoulding on yourself. So some people laugh when I say that, but using the word should is very disempowering, and should usually means I could, it might be good if I did that, but I probably won't do it, because that's just who I am. I don't do things, I don't follow through. And so I encourage you to catch yourself. When you say should, think if it's like the right use of the word. It's like, I shouldn't have been on Deerfoot dancing in the rain, and I got hit, so that was my own fault. That's probably a good use of should. But it's like, I should drink more water, or I should go work out tomorrow. That's so disempowering. It's like, I'm going to choose to drink more water because that's what makes me thrive, and my cells are happier, and I have more energy when I do that. But if it's like, oh, like, Rini said I should, so maybe I should. Or my doctor said I should. Not that Rini said should, but just be more aware of should. So do not fear unhealthy fats. So I grew up, child of the 80s. My mom was like low fat, fat-free everything. We all drank skim milk. And that was just what we learned in the 80s. It was like fat was bad, Canada Food Guide. Anyways, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I really want to encourage you that fat is what keeps you full. Fat is what gives you satiety. So if you're going low fat, you're probably starving all the time, and your hunger signal never turns off if you're never having healthy fats. So I just encourage you, don't be afraid of fat. I'm not saying you have to like dollop it on everything, but you know, some avocado. I go for 13% full fat Greek yogurt. I would, like, when you buy something fat-free, you've got to look at the ingredient list, because usually they're adding in a whole lot of junky stuff to make up for the flavor from the fat. So other examples of, I don't know, I like 3% milk. Whatever. But some people find it gross. My sister-in-law's like, I can't drink anything but skim, and it's actually like a taste preference. So if that's for you, that's for you. But don't fear fats. So the next thing is get enough protein. Does anyone feel like you got that kind of covered? You feel really good about nutrition? Maybe you feel like you probably get enough protein? Yeah? Awesome. So that's kind of one area when I used to do nutrition coaching, I'd notice when I had my clients' food log, which I don't do that anymore because I think it creates like a weird stress around food. But just to see where you're at, like how much fat you're eating, how much carbs, how much protein. And most people would be like really, really high in carbs, medium, low in fats, and then really quite low in protein. So I just wanted to share, Maria's going to pass them out, but after, especially because most of you are at Ironside, talking about post-workout. So after you work out, quick little tips, but after you work out, your muscles want protein, but they also want protein fast. So if you go eat, I don't know, for example, I won't put fat into my protein shake after I work out. If I'm going to use it as a meal replacement later in the day, sure. But if you're going to want your muscles to rebuild faster and get more lean and toned, you're going to want to mix your protein powder. I personally do this with some type of juice. So this is like a mango, where is it? This is like a smoothie, mango and passion fruit. So I just have a shaker cup, like the ones we have there. I put 2 cups of water, 1 cup of juice, 2 scoops of protein, shake it up, and that's like my post-workout drink. And it replenishes my muscle. It's not a meal replacement. I'll usually be hungry within an hour and a half later, but it really goes a long way if you want to build more lean muscle. And I share this because it's kind of funny and because it kind of drives the point home, but your muscles want quick protein. And so some bodybuilders will actually, you can go on Kijiji, and they're actually searching for breast milk. They actually want to buy breast milk because breast milk is the fastest source of energy. And so it's disgusting, but I want you to keep that vision. I want you to keep the visual.
Okay, tell me this is not breast milk.
This
praying for Bailey's.
It's part of the smoothie recipe. But anyways, a lot of people are like, I just do water because I'm trying to keep the calories down. Personally, from my bodybuilding background, you'll get more lean muscle. You'll get more from your strength workouts if you mix it with a bit of juice.
Taking for the sugar?
Yes. Yeah, so the sugar brings your insulin up, and insulin opens your muscles faster to get the protein in. So totally take it or toss it. Yeah. If it's working for you, what you're doing, you don't need to change it, right? So the next, how do you like the smoothie?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll do carrot juice, sometimes I'll do orange juice. I just change it up. Sometimes I do that pomegranate juice from Costco, but just some type of yummy juice to keep it changing. And then that's our 7.2 protein. Use whatever protein works for you. It's not good or bad. It's just how does it make you feel. I get really farty from whey protein, so that's why I shy away from it. But if you process it well, it's great. All right, last 2 tips. Eat mainly fibrous and nutrient-dense carbs. Does anyone have an example of a nutrient-dense carb? Sweet potato, yeah?
Broccoli.
Broccoli. I always use broccoli. Sorry? Did you say one? No? So the highest nutrient density carb would probably be like broccoli, like Rhonda said, because it's very low in calories for how much nutrition it has. And just as a visual, half a cup of broccoli has 3 grams of carbohydrates. Half a cup of cooked oatmeal has 30 grams of carbohydrates. So that's not to say oatmeal is bad, but if you're trying to lose weight, you might want to portion control those really high-density carby things. I love oatmeal, personally, actually. I add nuts, I add berries. I think it's a great breakfast, but I don't want to say avoiding because I'm not about that, but if you want to shed weight, you're going to want to eat less carby foods at night. So at dinner, maybe you love pasta, okay? Have like half the amount of noodles and add a bunch of veggies and add a bunch of meat sauce. I love pasta, so for me to say I'm not going to ever have pasta at night doesn't work for me. But I definitely watch my portions, especially in the evenings. If you love like those carby things, have them earlier in the day. Our coach here, Laura, she used to talk about how she would eat cake for breakfast because it's like going to have the whole day to burn off. So just take it or toss it, but and then drinking more water. So I know everyone's heard it. I don't even know 8 glasses, 12 glasses, whatever works for you. But water hydrates your cells. So if your cells, each cell in your body is happy and hydrated, it works at a more efficient metabolic rate. If it's like shriveled up, it's unhappy, the metabolic rate of your whole body slows down. And so you burn fat less effectively, your energy goes down, and there's been a lot of studies on water and hydration with disease. So your cells become more susceptible to disease when you're really dehydrated. So water is like, I know it's not easy for everyone, but it's one of those things you can definitely just make it a habit. Have an app on your phone that reminds you to drink water, whatever. Lots of people have different strategies with it. Anyone really struggle with water? Yeah? Just don't like it? Yeah. And then adding fruit to it, adding some flavoring to it. Some people like to make tea and then cool it. Tried all those things? Yeah. But just keep in mind how happy your body is when it's hydrated. Yeah. Awesome. So we'll move on to the peaceful eating portion now. So peaceful eating means eating your meals in a relaxed state with as little distractions as possible. Most of us are really focused on what we eat, our diet, our nutrition, but a lot of us don't even consider the idea that how we eat might be affecting our weight. And that's what I'm so excited to share is how you eat really does affect your weight quite a lot for quite a few reasons. And so before I get into kind of the benefits, I wanted you to just write down, there's a little space there, but how do you eat your meals? Does anyone need a pen? A couple pens? Okay. So I just want you to, just like a reflection. Oh, you got one? There you go. Just how do you, even in the last 24 hours, how did you eat breakfast? How do you eat lunch, dinner? There's no shame. I'm not going to ask you to share. It's just an awareness tool. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I didn't put my hands up. I thought I had one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Two more.
Thanks, Jill.
Take these awesome. There you go. Anybody else? There you go. You guys are good? So just how you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe today or last 24 hours, maybe typically. Just to bring some awareness to it. And so, before I share the benefits, which I'm really excited to share, I want to do a little practice. So in your cup, there's 3 things. And so we're going to start with the raisin, but please don't eat it yet. There's always someone that eats it right away.
I was kidding.
So just take the raisin out of your cup.
I mentioned to get the breast milk.
You're still thinking about the breast milk?
No, I just said I was really anxious to get to the breast milk cracker.
So yeah, there might be a few raisins, but just take one. One little raisin. And I just want you to look at it. Oh, sorry. I want you to look at it. Notice the texture. Tanya, did you get a raisin?
No, it's coming.
Okay, sorry. Just the texture, roll it around in your hands. Feel if it's squishy, is it hard, does it feel fresh? It's an organic raisin, by the way. And then smell it. And just smell, notice, does it smell like you thought a raisin would smell? Sweet, musty? Do you like the smell?
Mine has not had enough water today.
Oh, that's great, dehydrated. Noticing, where the little stem would have gone into it when it was a grape. And then, without chewing it, just put it into your mouth. And just put it on your tongue. And just kind of like roll it around. Notice this, if you get any flavors from it. If you like it, if it's sweet. And then just chew it. This little, beautiful raisin. I just noticed what you notice. Do you like it? Did you think you love raisins? Do you hate them? Have you eaten a whole box of raisins and never even really noticed what they taste like? Yeah, that was me for sure. Just trying to get them off the side. Yeah, awesome. So we'll just do the cracker now. So just grab your little. It's a rice cracker, so it's not gluten free. It's gluten free. Smell it. I don't know if you like the artificial cheese flavoring. Just notice the texture, looking at it, thinking about where it came from might be interesting. And then again, put it on the tongue and just see how, put it in your mouth, take a bite of it. kind of without chewing, just feel it on your tongue. And then when you're ready, just chew. And try to chew until it's liquid in your mouth. And just see if you like it. It's a rice cracker. Yeah. Awesome. And just, bringing more presence to it. And so for the chocolate, I just encourage you to put your feet on the ground. This is one thing I really believe in is, well, if you're sitting on the ground, you're probably grounded. But a lot of us, when we don't want to be in our body, and we don't really want to be present with our food, we'll curl up in a ball, or we'll put a foot up, or we're not really grounded. And when you put your feet down, you're automatically just more in your body. So you'll sense your hunger more, and we'll talk about that in a second. But take the chocolate now, and just look at it. Look at, maybe there's like ridges on it. This is 56% cocoa, organic, dairy-free, gluten-free chocolate. Smell it. Smells sweet, maybe. And then put it on your tongue and just, without biting it, just kind of let it melt. I did this morning. I'm like, I don't usually do this. And maybe you like letting it melt on your tongue. But then you chew it and just see what you taste and if you like it. Be present with that chocolate. So I know for me and for a lot of people, you probably eat a whole chocolate bar, but never really tasted the little intricacies of how yummy it is. So that's kind of just an encouragement. Hopefully that brought a little awareness. I'm not saying every meal you're going to have these tiny bites, or examine every raisin, but just bring a little bit more presence, because when you do something to the extreme, it usually ripples into your life kind of on a normal level. So maybe at lunch or dinner tonight, you might go, you might notice your food more. You might actually appreciate it a little bit more. So some of the benefits of mindful, or I call it peaceful eating, but mindful eating is a great way to call it as well. So first is less fat storage. So when you're eating something and you're driving down Deerfoot in rush hour trying to get this burger in your mouth or sandwich, your stress response is super elevated. Versus if you're sitting at home, slowly eating the hamburger or whatever it is. And so there's actually been studies to show that your fat storage can increase by 3 times when you're stressed and eating. So if you're relaxed and you're eating a McDonald's hamburger versus being stressed when eating it, you could hold 3 times as much fat from the exact same portion. That's why, a big part of why I'm why is everyone focusing on what we're eating? Why don't people focus more on how we're eating? Because that's easier to change, I think, and more fun, actually. Because then you can still eat whatever you want, if you like McDonald's hamburgers. But if you eat them mindfully, you probably won't like them as much if you're really slow at savoring them, because you'll notice the ingredients aren't as fresh as you thought they were. So less fat storage, and actually stress can be put upon yourself with guilt. And so if you're deciding to eat a piece of cheesecake, just eat the thing and love it and savor it. Don't think the whole time, I shouldn't be eating this. This is going to add calories to my day. Just enjoy it, because stress from food is another cause of weight gain. I'm not saying throw out everything that you've ever done and never watch what you eat, because you have to do it within reason, but to feel guilty while you're eating something, you're robbing yourself. You're not even going to get to enjoy the cheesecake, because all you're thinking about is that you shouldn't be eating it, right? So better digestion. When you're stressed, all of your natural acids in your stomach dry up, and you don't assimilate the food as well. You'll probably have way more belching, farting. You won't poop as much. There's so many things going on digestive-wise when you're stressed. So to be in a state of rest, they call it rest and digest, versus fight or flight. When you're eating in fight or flight, your body is just F me, you're just screwing me over because I have no chance to properly digest this. So just remember that rest and digest. You want to be in a restful state when you're eating, as much as possible. I mean, I eat in the car once in a while. Usually I'll drink a smoothie, though. I won't be trying to eat a hamburger, because I'm if I'm going to eat a hamburger, I'm going to savor the hamburger. But just remember that digestion as well. Less stress-induced food choices. So when you're stressed, your body craves carbs. And so when it comes to snack time or meal time, if you're deciding to eat when you're really stressed, you're probably going to make a different choice than if you took 5 minutes to breathe and relax or go walk around the block and then decided what to eat. Does that make sense? More pleasure. So when you eat in that slow way and really savor it, you actually get more enjoyment from the food. Would you agree with that? And so a couple of things about that. I just think pleasure is awesome because, like, why won't you want to have fun on this life and on this earth? But also when you're happy, your metabolism runs more effectively. That's why when you're on vacation and you're kind of letting things go and you eat a little more, you don't usually come back that much heavier based on how much extra you ate because you're happy and you feel good and things are just rolling and your digestion's working better and everything's just working better. Too bad we couldn't all be on vacation all the time. But just remember that more satisfaction, more pleasure. Another thing is when you focus on like the chocolate, let's say, you have like 4 pieces like that mindfully, you won't crave it as much later if you let yourself have it in the moment. But if you're like distracted watching TV and eating chocolate, then you won't even really notice what you ate, and then you might still want that pleasure later because you didn't actually get the pleasure. Does that kind of make sense? Last couple things, you'll eat less food naturally without calorie counting. I used to weigh and measure my food like I was obsessed. But now I'm not interested in calorie counting or portion control, but I let my body tell me when it's had enough. And if you're driving, if you're watching TV, if you're writing emails, if you're on your phone, you might miss the cue that your body is saying, I'm full. So it's just a lot quicker. It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain you're full, but if you can get in touch with your actual stomach, you'll be able to notice a lot sooner that you're full. And I didn't used to want to notice because I love food and I wanted bulk and I wanted to eat a lot. But there's I forget who said this, but it would be like he'd eat his burrito so fast and then go get another one because he didn't want to be full. He didn't want to feel full because it would take away the pleasure from eating. So that's why he would eat it so fast so that his body wouldn't have a chance to tell him he was full. So that's kind of how I used to operate, but not anymore. So the last thing is the way you eat is usually the way you live. If you want to have a more peaceful life, a less chaotic life, a more present and connected life, then food is one of the best ways to do that. And if you can slow down at meal times, it'll just ripple into the rest of your life. And, just like you did with the raisin, bringing that mindfulness to everyday activities, to watching your kid play out in the snow, to sitting in a rink watching your kid play hockey. Like, you can be mindless and you can be on your phone and you can be distracted, or you can be really in it. And then you won't say life is passing me by and life's going so fast. And it's like you'll just be in your life and it won't feel like it's going by in a second because you'll actually be present for each moment. So at least I found that. So I wanted to just wrap up by kind of saying the principles of a peaceful meal. One of the things is to sit while you eat. And so I used to, even a few months ago, I would like snack while I was making dinner. Does anyone do that? But what I realized is I liked that because it was kind of fun. But then when dinner would be served, I wouldn't even really be hungry. And it would be kind of like disappointing because I made this nice meal, but I just filled up on crackers or something lame. And then I couldn't actually get as much pleasure from the food. Because it's actually proven that your taste buds change as you eat. So that first piece of cake tastes orgasmic. The second piece is like, yeah, it's good. Third piece, it's like, it could be cardboard for all you know, because your taste buds actually numb out as you get too full, because your body is trying to tell you to stop eating. It's trying to take the pleasure away, but so just keep that in mind. Put your feet on the ground, like I mentioned, when you're eating, because it'll really ground you into your body, and you'll be able to sense your hunger and fullness more. Taking 3 to 5 deep breaths before you eat just gets you out of that stress mode into your body. I'm definitely in stress mode. So I'm trying to make sure I don't go over time. Bring gratitude to your meal. So gratitude is another strategy for bringing your stress down. Because when you think about what you're happy about and what's good, it changes everything. Thanks for coming. I don't know, sometimes I sit down to a meal and I'm anxious and I'm stressed and I got a lot on my mind. But that's why I try to look at the food and just quickly say what I'm grateful for about the food. And then it's like, okay, for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'm just going to eat. And I don't need to worry about the rest because it's still going to be waiting there for me at the end. And that really helps take the stress down. Eat when you're eating. So, multitasking while we eat? Anyone? Yeah. So this is also take it or toss it, but if you're doing other things, you're probably not getting as much pleasure from the food. You're probably not as present with the food. If it's a stressful activity, like talking on the phone to some, a stressful conversation, or writing a stressful email, or driving in rush hour, I really caution you to stop doing that. If it's like you just love to read the paper in the morning while you eat your bagel, decide if you think that reading the paper might be taking you out of touch with your body, and if the paper might be getting more attention than the food, because then you're more likely to want to eat more later. And then lastly, I just want to quickly talk about the hunger scale. So eating to the point that you actually get energy from your food instead of feeling tired from your food. And for me, this is usually at dinner where I struggle with this, because it's the end of the day, I've had a long day, the food tastes good, I'm an emotional eater, and so I'm like, I'm not quite ready for this meal to end, I want a few more bites. But when you overeat, your body can't handle the extra calories, and they have to be stored. So it's fascinating, but our metabolism is exactly synonymous with our hunger. So when we're hungry, our metabolism is working at an efficient rate. But when we're full, our metabolism's not. So our ability to burn calories is exactly matched with our hunger levels. So if we're constantly eating more than our body needs, what happens? No matter how healthy it is, so it's going to go onto your body. So I don't like to say waste food, but if it doesn't go to waste, it goes to your waste. And that was a hard one for me. I grew up starving kids in Africa kind of mentality. But I'm like, well, are we going to package the food up and send it to Africa? Don't eat it anyways. But bringing it back, I just want to quickly read you the hunger scale, and I'll also email this out. But 1 is starving, ravenous. I can't think of anything other than how hungry I am. I want to eat my arm, basically. 2 is you're uncomfortably hungry. 3, and as I'm reading these, maybe think, what are you right now? 3 is I'm very hungry, I'm excited to eat and to nourish my body. 4 is I'm a little bit hungry, there's still that hunger edge. 5 is I'm not hungry, but I'm not satisfied. 6 is I'm satisfied, but I feel energetic, I feel light. I could definitely stop here, my body got enough. Did my mind or my spirit get enough? 7 is comfortable, but slightly too full. 8 is very full, you're acutely aware you ate more than you needed. 9 is you're too full, you're feeling heavy, you're feeling uncomfortable. 10 is you're stuffed to bursting, you feel tired, and you need to lay down. Thanksgiving coming. So 6 is the ideal place to stop. And it's not always easy for anyone. I've overeaten for most of my life. I was called the human garbage can by my family. And I always took everyone's leftovers because I just liked to eat. But I don't do that anymore because I like living in a healthy, energetic body more than I like the taste of food now. So yeah, that's the hunger scale. It's really, really a useful tool. And so yeah, quick review. The first thing we talked about is why aren't you taking action? And I just encourage you, don't try to do everything I talked about today. Take the handout home, but maybe just think about one thing you're excited to implement. Maybe it's to examine if you're doing the self-sabotage thing. Maybe it's to get the stress response down. Those are going to have a bigger impact than any nutrition change you could ever make. The second thing we talked about was just those small nutrition shifts, which half of them were mindset related, which there's no accident with that, because I do believe the mindset is more powerful than just more information. Does that make sense? And then lastly, we talked about that peaceful eating. So that is it. I just invite you to keep being open to whether or not food is the challenge, or maybe it's more of a deeper challenge.